Here we will analyze second order systems. Okay, so we already saw a prototype second order system, right? So for that, the forward path transfer function we took as omega n square divided by s into s plus 2 zeta omega n. Okay, and what was the feedback path transfer function? It was equal to unity. So it was a unity feedback system. Okay, now we also derived the unit step response. Right? What was the unit step response that we got? What is meant by unit step response? When you give a unit step input, then the output is called as the unit step response. Okay, so we got that as C of t is equal to 1 minus e to the power minus zeta omega nt divided by root over 1 minus zeta square sine of omega n root over 1 minus zeta square t plus theta. Okay, so what was theta? Theta was equal to cos inverse zeta. Now this zeta omega n here, okay, you can take to be a parameter alpha. Okay, so we will see what is alpha, what is zeta omega n, we will see. Okay, but zeta omega n we take it as alpha, and omega n root over 1 minus zeta square we take it as omega d. Okay, so we can also write the unit step response like this: 1 minus e to the power minus alpha t divided by root over 1 minus zeta square into sine omega dt plus theta. Okay, so we can see that for the unit step response C of t, we have a exponential term. Okay, so E is the exponential term. Okay, and you can see that alpha exists as the power of the exponential. Okay, since it is having a negative power minus alpha t, right? That is why it is a decaying function, exponentially decaying function, not exponentially growing. Okay, and what is the rate at which it will fall? It will depend on the power of the exponential, that is alpha. So basically alpha decides the damping of the response. Okay, so it is a measure of damping. So for this reason alpha is called as the damping factor, or it is sometimes also called as the damping constant. Okay, next we know that we took alpha is equal to zeta omega n. Okay, so we can write zeta is equal to alpha by omega n. Okay, so zeta, which is called the damping ratio, it is defined as the damping factor of the system, okay, divided by omega n. What is omega n? Let us say you take zeta is equal to 1, then alpha is equal to omega n. Okay, so when zeta is equal to 1, the system is called a critically damped system. Okay, so we will understand what is meant by critically damped later, but for now you have to understand that when zeta is equal to 1, the system is called a critically damped system. Then what is omega n? Omega n will become the damping factor of the critically damped system. Okay, so zeta is defined like this only. Okay, zeta is the damping factor of the system divided by the damping factor of the critically damped system. Okay, so this is the definition of zeta. Next, consider the system has to be undamped system. That means there is no damping. Okay, so when there is no damping, it implies that the power of the exponential, that is alpha, should be equal to 0, right? So what will happen if alpha is equal to 0? This implies that zeta into omega n is equal to 0, right? So here omega n we don't take it as 0, because if omega n is taken as 0, then omega d will become 0 then it will become sine theta. It will no more be a function of time. Okay, so here for alpha to be 0, we take zeta to be equal to 0. Okay, so this is the condition for a system to be undamped. Okay, now if you substitute zeta is equal to 0 in the output C of t, then what will you get? C of t is equal to 1 minus e to the power minus 0t. Okay, e to the power 0 is 1 divided by root over 1 minus zeta square will be 1. Okay, into sine omega n t plus theta. Okay, so you can get the output C of t is simply equal to 1 minus sine omega n t plus theta. So you can see that this will now become a sinusoidal function with an average value of 1. Okay, so that means there is no damping. The oscillations will occur in a sustained manner. Okay, and here you can see the frequency of these oscillations. What will be the frequency of these oscillations? It will be omega n. So omega n is called as the natural frequency. Okay, so here we have discussed damping factor or the damping constant, which is alpha, the damping ratio, which is zeta, and the natural frequency, which is omega n. Right, so what is the leftover term here? Omega d. So if you see this output, we have the frequency of the sine term to be omega d. Okay, so when the system is damped, that means the exponential term is still present, then the output will not be a periodic function. It will not be a sinusoidal function. Okay, but the frequency that is appearing in the sine function is omega d, and that is why we simply call it as the damped frequency. Okay, so for a second order system, alpha is the damping factor or damping constant, zeta is the damping ratio, omega n is the natural frequency, and omega d is the damped frequency. Okay, and how are they related? Alpha is equal to zeta omega n. Okay, and omega d is equal to omega n root over 1 minus zeta square. So these are the 4 parameters of a second order system. Okay, so next we will discuss damping in the second order systems. Okay, so damping will depend on these parameters only. Right, so now we will see what are the different types of damping that we get to see in the second order system. The first one is the underdamped system. Okay, so this is a unit step response, right? So the output has to settle down at the value 1. Okay, what is happening in an underdamped system? The output is reaching unity, that is a final value, very fast. Okay, but it is not settling there. It is oscillating about 1 for some time before settling down. Okay, so this is happening because the damping is less, so it will oscillate more before it finally settles down at the steady state value. So this is the case of less damping. Okay, let us say now you have increased the damping. Okay, so now the damping is high enough. Now what will happen? The output will not have any oscillations. It will reach the steady state value after some time, but in overdamped system, the time taken to reach the steady state value will be high. Okay, so we call this as sluggish response. Okay, so it will take a long time for the output to reach the steady state value. Okay, next we have the critically damped system. This is the ideal damping that we usually wish for. Okay, so the damping is neither too less nor too high. Okay, so what will happen? It will not have any oscillations. Okay, and at the same time it is taking the minimum possible time. Okay, so basically if you take an underdamped system and you slowly increase the damping, okay, then the oscillations will keep on reducing. Okay, and right at the time when the oscillations become zero, that is when you get the critically damped system. Okay, and even in the other way around also, if you take an over damped system and if you start decreasing its damping, okay, so that point of damping where the oscillations will not occur, where the matlab if you reduce the damping below that value, the oscillations will start occurring. Okay, so that is called as the critically damped system. Okay, so we have discussed that this occurs at zeta is equal to 1. We will also discuss later why zeta is equal to 1 for a critically damped system. Okay, next is the undamped system. Okay, so what is happening in an undamped system? There is no damping. That means zeta is equal to 0 here, right? That is what we have discussed. And here sustained oscillations will occur. Okay, so these are the different dampings that we see for a second order system for a unit step input. Now, what is the characteristic equation of a second order system? So we have seen that it is s square plus 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square is equal to 0. Okay, you can derive it also, we have discussed it before, but you can derive it also. The forward path transfer function is omega n square by s into s plus 2 zeta omega n, and the feedback function is 1. Okay, so you can find out the transfer function as g by 1 plus gh, and 1 plus gh equal to 0 is what gives the characteristic equation. Okay, now this is a quadratic equation. What will be the roots of this quadratic equation? The roots will be given as minus zeta omega n plus or minus j omega n root over 1 minus zeta square. Okay, so we also know that zeta omega n is alpha and omega n root over 1 minus zeta square is omega d. So you can write the roots also as minus alpha plus or minus j omega d. So we see that s has a real part as well as an imaginary part. Okay, so if you take the s plane, okay, so in the s plane the real part will be on the horizontal axis and the imaginary part of s will be on the vertical axis. Now the real part of s, we take it to be sigma. Okay, and the imaginary part of s, we take it to be j omega. Okay, so this point is very important. This s plane, what is the real part of s, what is the imaginary part of s, this is very important. Okay, we will see in the subsequent chapters, especially in frequency domain analysis. Okay, now we can represent the roots on the s plane. What is the real part of the root? This is minus alpha. And what is the imaginary part of the root? It is given by j omega d plus or minus j omega d. Okay, so on the real axis you take minus alpha comma 0. Okay, and on the imaginary axis you take plus j omega d and minus j omega d. Okay, so the roots will lie here. They have x coordinate minus alpha and the y coordinate j omega d. Okay, so this is one root, and the second root will be like this. Okay, it is minus alpha comma omega d, minus omega d, and this is minus alpha comma plus omega d. Okay, so this is alpha and this is omega d. Okay, so we have represented alpha and omega d. Now we will see zeta and omega n. Okay, So here if you see this line here, okay, this whole thing is forming a right angle triangle, right? And the length of the height is omega d and the length of the base is alpha. So you can find out the length of the hypotenuse as root over omega d square plus alpha square. Okay, so what is omega d square? It is omega n square into 1 minus zeta square. This is omega d square, okay, plus zeta omega n whole square. Okay, so this if you simplify you will get omega n. That means the length of the hypotenuse is omega n. So the distance of the root from the origin is given as omega n. Okay, next, if you take the angle theta here, okay, then you can get cos theta is equal to alpha by omega n. Okay, but what is alpha? It is zeta omega n. So you will get cos theta is equal to zeta, right? So this is how you represent zeta also. If you take the angle here to be theta, then zeta can be cos theta.